Hello, I'm Emily Wetzel. Today's Saturday, February 22nd, and this is my summative blog review video for 701 Systems Org and Design. So today I'm going to be talking about the class and just a little bit of feedback on that. I'll get into the blogs and the discussion. I want to touch briefly on our project, and then I'll give a little bit of course feedback while we're in here, and lastly, we'll touch on the group project. So first of all, I want to talk about the class. I did like the class a lot. I really liked the Oshry book, which I was kind of surprised about because when I first started reading it, I couldn't quite get comfortable with it. I couldn't really enjoy it in the beginning. I didn't like the way it was set up, how it was in acts, and I felt like it was kind of jumbled and it didn't really have a good flow or pattern. But once I delved a little deeper into it and I kind of got over some of that, I really liked some of the themes of the book. And I thought that really he was spot on with some of the things that he noticed. And it was kind of funny how he notices things that are abundantly obvious that we learn to look past. So some of the themes of the Oshry book that I really liked the theme about the dance of the blind reflex. I think that happens all the time. And until we open ourselves up to seeing that and overcoming that, you can't get past it, and you do fall victim to those same patterns of things that we tend to do. I also really liked just the whole conversation that he had on tops, middles, and bottoms. I thought it was very accurate. I do think, and he kind of says this in the beginning, but I mean, at times you're a top, you're a middle, or you're a bottom, so you're not necessarily always the same thing. And I had to kind of get over that as I was reading too. Like I had to kind of put myself in to that mindset. But once I learned, like, you're not always hardline one or the other, you can really, there's a lot of insights there for applying whatever you are in each particular situation. But I especially liked when he talked about, the pressures that tops feel, and I guess, as a middle or a bottom, that might escape you. The amount of pressure and responsibility that they have on them for kind of governing the overall strategy and making sure that things are moving forward. And I think, in today's ever-changing technological climate, that is probably even more stressful. So I can respect that. And I thought that, a little bit of the information on the middles too, like I identified with that a lot, kind of being stuck between the bottoms that you're trying to serve and the tops that you're, also trying to serve. And where do you identify with, and, a lot of times you can lose your own, head space or position in that too. So I thought that was really good. I really liked the lesson that we had on the power labs that Oshry does. I thought that was so interesting. I've never heard of a more immersive experience than those 6-day power labs, and I found myself doing a lot of research about them. I keep going back to, is that something I would like to do? I can't see myself doing a crazy 6-day workshop, and some of the videos that we watched on that were just so painful to see people in those experiences. But I would think that, if you could commit to that and you could give up the 6 days and you could, immerse yourself in that experience with an open mind, I would think that you would come out with so much growth and learning. It could be life-changing. So something to keep in mind. On the discussion about the blogs a little bit, I had 3 favorite blogs of the ones that we did. I think we ended doing 5 or 6. So I liked blog 2 a lot, which was about process blindness, and I got into the discussion about groupthink a little bit in that, and I feel like I kind of had an epiphany because I was so thinking, no, we don't do groupthink. We're just, a group of individuals that meet and we all bring our own perspective in that. And then the more I really thought about it, I was like, wait a second, I think we do groupthink, and I think there is a power struggle like Oshry's talking about, and I think there is, the tops in our perspective group not wanting to let go of the power to the bottoms and kind of only paying attention to the self-serving perspectives of others in those situations. So I thought that one was kind of like an eye-opener for me. I liked blog number 3 too, which was about uncertainties. I like that one more, even when I go back, because our project ended up being about uncertainty. So that was kind of interesting to have read that or have written that several weeks back and then kind of loop back to it after we've done all this research on uncertainty. So I liked that a lot. And there was a part in the Oshry book that he talked about, like, I forget the exact quote that he had, but to kind of sum it up, it was, the person that's usually feeling the most certain is probably the worst source of information. And so for me, I think I tend to present as very certain, but I think deep down inside, I spend a lot of time overanalyzing. I spend a lot of time thinking about my performance or things that I could do better. I spend a lot of time measuring myself up against other people on some, crazy hard yardstick of performance. And so I liked that he talked about that, and he talked about, basically saying that the people that are the smartest or the people that maybe get it the most tend to have a great deal of uncertainty. And some of that came out in our paper as well. Or our project. There was a lot of TEDx videos that we watched that dealt with uncertainty, and some of the lessons that came out of that were very similar. So one of them was this Philip Tetlock study that really struck with me, and basically Tetlock spent his life work interviewing all of these experts in their field and having them make future predictions on what the outcome of that particular field would be. And then he had them assign a confidence interval to it. And what he found was these experts were no better than, any lay person at predicting the future. And he also found an inverse correlation between being very sure of yourself and being very wrong later. And so he kind of explained that people that are willing to be unsure of themselves have kind of built more of that uncertainty into the model. So they have kind of realized that life is interchanging, and there's, the butterfly effect of things that one little thing can set so many more things in motion. And so that was another affirming kind of lesson too, that it's okay to be uncertain, and really that means that you understand how complex the model that we're all living in really is. So I enjoy that tie together too. And then lastly, I liked blog number 4 on achievements, just kind of talking about what achievements, your company recognizes or what you think are important. And I think that that's something that we do very well at my company. And so it was kind of just good getting some of that out and kind of celebrating some of those successes that we've had. So I enjoyed that blog too. Gonna just touch on the discussion forums a little bit. I'm not gonna go real in-depth on that, but I thought our group really brought it with the discussions. I thought we had a lot of good back and forth information, and I thought we did a nice job of tying course material together with real life examples and things that we've seen. And I think some of those real life examples at the MBA level can really be interesting, because at this point in our careers, we've had most of us have had several years of life experience in the real world, some of those at the managerial level, and so it lends a credibility to the discussion, more than you would get in an undergraduate level. So I really appreciated some of that discussion. I thought some of it was really interesting. I particularly liked some of the things that Carrie Blymiller brought to the discussion, because she has some challenges at her job, and so kind of talking our way through as a group some of those challenges and how this course material integrates to that, I thought was really interesting. And I also really enjoyed the professor's discussion in there. So I always thought it was interesting to hear her point of view or her questions, or every once in a while she would check you on something. I remember when we were talking about decisioning, and I had kind of thrown out there that, in a decision, somebody always stands to lose, and the professor checked me on, well, can't you ever have a situation where both parties stand to win? And so I did enjoy a lot of that back and forth. The group project I really enjoyed, so I'll be honest, at this point in time, I think this is class 12 of 13 for me. I've done a lot of these group projects, so I'm glad that I'm at the end because they do require a lot of work. But what I will say is I really enjoyed this group that we had. I thought we all had such unique perspectives on things. I thought everybody really applied themselves to the project, and I really enjoyed the learning aspect of it where we were doing the TEDx reviews. I liked that a lot. So I will say that I think the thing that I learned the most from with this group project was just overcoming some of the technology leaps and bounds that you had, especially when we were doing a lot of it remote. We did end up getting together 3 out of 4 of us for the final run through, but we had one person that was living in Pittsburgh. So that I thought was really a good learning experience for me, because the virtual side of things and how do you collaborate effectively across teams that are maybe not all sitting in the same location, I think that's really important to the workforce today. So to kind of take that out of a work perspective and get, work some of those kinks out on some of those programs and kind of facilitating amongst that way and overseeing a project, I thought that was a huge learning experience. So, I mean, some of that information I think you could even use on an interview. So I really enjoyed that. Lastly, I wanted to give a little feedback about the class, just because I think that's always good. Feedback is a two-way street. So I did really enjoy the class. Like I mentioned, I enjoyed the feedback that we got from the instructor. I thought the instructor was really available to us, so that was good. I thought the instructor was really encouraging too, so I appreciated that. I liked most of the work that we did. I thought as far as being on level with other MBA courses, it was right there both in amount of work and challenge of the assignments. Couple things that I loved or didn't love. I thought we moved a little too fast through the Oshry book. I noticed when I opened the ECN tool that first Sunday or Monday or whatever it was, and we had to be read through to Act 3. That was a significant chunk of the material to read through so quickly. I tend to not be a super fast reader, and so that was kind of almost demotivating to me, like I'll never be through there, that material quite that quickly. So but it ended up working out. I did think that there was some portions later in the class where we didn't have to read as much, so maybe just dividing that material out a little more evenly would help students in the future. I liked the blog and I liked the discussion. I didn't understand why we had to do both if we were responding to other students on the blog. So maybe that's something to take a look at moving forward. I know we've had to do blogs in other classes before. Miles Free class comes to mind on that. But traditionally those were more self-led, self-reflected. They weren't shared with others and we weren't commenting on them. I didn't mind sharing it with others, but I didn't like that it felt like muchly the same thing as the discussion forum to me. And then lastly, I just noticed that there were a few things in the syllabus that weren't updated. For example, one of them was article reviews. It said we had to do 2, but in reality, I think we only had to do 1. Kind of hard keeping track of the dates on there. That's really not been specific to this class only. I've kind of noticed that through the MBA program as a whole. I think the syllabi are just reused from semester to semester, but as a super busy MBA student with a ton going on, that syllabus is like my guiding light to making sure that I have everything checked off. So very important to make sure that it is correct and the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Other than that, I loved the class. I'd give it an A+. I'm glad I took it. I definitely think I learned from it. I think it was well positioned in the MBA program as far as being one of the last classes, because it's kind of an overall review of all the different systems that we've studied throughout. So really liked it. Thanks for watching my video, and good luck to everyone as we move on to our last class.